All right, so Unit 5 starts us off with the Pythagorean Theorem. And we know a little bit about triangles just from what we talked about in 6th grade and 7th grade. So we're going to build on that just a little bit more. So we know we have our legs of the triangle, which are usually the two shorter legs, And then we have that long leg, which we call the hypotenuse. Now, one thing that we want to remember is that your hypotenuse is always going to be across from your right angle, okay? So we know about triangles, true. What we don't know too much about is the Pythagorean theorem, which talks about the area of the sides of the triangle. So what that means and where we're going to move from, we're going to move from just the regular sides to talking about the area of the sides. So if you look, we still have our triangle here. We have our A side, our B side, our C. Your A squared and your B squared, your C squared, is talking about the area of the square of that side. The area of the square of that side. Okay? So before we just talked about A. Well, there's a difference between A and A squared. A is simply the line. A squared is the area of the square of that side. Okay? Now, this formula, A squared plus B squared plus C squared, is going to be super, super important. And we're going to talk about it a lot. We're going to use it in different ways. So let's stop talking about it, jump into it, and see how it works. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of these questions where essentially they're giving us two of the sides and we need to find that other. And we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem to do that. So if you remember from just a second ago, that is A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay? Now, if you notice on our numbers here, we don't have any squared. We just have the regular numbers, which is okay because we're going to talk about how to do them. I want you to get in the habit of creating a table. So for the purpose of this beginning part, I'm going to have this pre-made table, but going forward, what you'll do is you'll just create your own table. So you have your A, your B, and your C, and then you'll do the sides, you'll do the area of the sides. But for this, we'll go ahead and just use this, okay? I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And let's take a look at number 1. So what I want to do first is identify my C, my hypotenuse. If you remember, here's my right angle, my hypotenuse, my C is always going to be across from there, okay? So if I'm going to, first I want to do my table. So here's my C. I know that's C. Your legs are interchangeable. This one already has an A, so let's make this one B. Let's see what can I fill in on my table. So I don't know what A is, but I do know that B is 4, and I know that C is 5. Now what I want to do, remember I want A squared and B squared and C squared. I don't just want A and B and C. So I am going to grab my calculator. And what I'm going to do is let me find out what is 4 squared. Okay? So I'm going to put in my 4. I'm going to push the x squared button because that's going to square that 4 for me. Press enter and it gives me 16. So 4 squared is 16. I need my 5 squared. Press enter. It's 25. Now, what I will tell you is, since you're probably watching this on break or you're just at home, if you don't have our scientific calculators, but if you have a cell phone, if you turn your phone sideways, it switches to that scientific calculator and gives you so many more options. It gives you that x squared, and it also gives you your square root sign, which we're going to talk about, okay? So we're going to stick with this one right now. So here's what I know. I know that A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Well, right now, I don't know what A is, or A squared. But I do know B squared because I saw B. I put it in my calculator and got B squared. So A squared plus 16 equals 25 because that's my C squared, right? Now, this is kind of like the formulas that we just got finished doing in Unit 4. I want to find out what this is, which means I need to get rid of this constant. So, positive 16, I'm going to do the opposite. Do a negative 16. If I do it on one side, I have to do it on the other. 16 minus 16 is 0. 25 minus 16 is 9. Don't be scared to put it in your calculator. 25 minus 16 is 9. Ideally, you know it, but I'm not worried about you double checking. So, our a squared is equal to 9. Okay? So, I know a squared now is 9. But you want to know what is a. So, for me, I want to take my calculator back out. I want to do the square root of 9. So, you're going to push your control button. And then you're going to push the x squared button. But see right there, if I push control, it gives me that square root sign. I want the square root of 9. And then I'm going to press enter, which is 3. So now I figured out what a is. So a squared is 9. A is 3. Okay? This table is going to be super helpful. And also just remembering what that equation is. A squared plus b squared plus c squared. Okay? Let's try number 3. So, here's my right angle. I want to find out where's my C. It's marked for me this time, but if we get in the habit of doing it, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so you can see. If we get in the habit of pointing it out, then we just remember how to find it for when they don't give it to us, okay? All right, so remember my legs are interchangeable. So I'm going to make this one A. I'm going to make this one B. So my A is 2. My B is 6. I want to find the area of that square. What is a squared? So here's my calculator. 2. And I'm going to push the square button. 2 squared is 4. And then I need 6 squared, which is 36. Because remember, when we're squaring something, we're just multiplying that number by itself. So here's what I know. I know a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I just don't know what c or c squared is. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I know a squared is 4. I know b squared is 36. That equals c squared. I'm going to scoot this over so we can see the calculator, okay? So 4 plus 36 is 40. 40 equals c squared. But we don't want to know c squared. We want to know c. So I do know this, but I want to know c. So my square root, I'm going to push control and then x squared because that's where my square root sign is right there. I'm going to put in 40 and press enter. 6.32456. Our directions said round to the nearest tenth, so we're going to do 6.3 is my C. Okay? Sounds pretty good so far, right? All right, I'm going to do 5 and 6, and then I'm going to let you practice a little bit on your own. All right, so taking a look at 5. Now, this time they did not give us the picture of the triangle. They simply gave us the sides. So, look, they gave us A. They said A is 6 centimeters. B is 5 centimeters. So we have to figure out what is C and C squared because we want to be able to fill in our table. So I'm going to scoot this over so we can see the calculator. My 6 squared, I already have that in my calculator still. So I know that's 36. But remember, I want to put in my 5. I want to push the x squared button, press enter, which is 25. Okay? I know a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if I add these, because I know that a squared is 36, b squared is 25, 36 plus 25, 61. But remember, I don't want to know c squared. I want to know c. So I'm going to do control x squared, because give me my square root sign. The square root of 61 is 7.81025. Our direction said round to the nearest tenth. So we're going to go 7.8 is C. Kind of easy and to the point, right? All right, last one that we're going to do together. So here's my table. Let's take a look at what they gave us. They gave us A and C. So my A is 20. C is 25. A is 20, C is 25. All right, I'm going to scoot this back over so we can get this calculator up here. I need to do 20 squared because I want to fill in all of my boxes. So I'm going to do 20 squared, which is 400. And then I'm going to do 25 squared, which is 625. So here's what I know. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. What do I know? I know that A squared is 400. I don't know B squared. And I know C squared is 625. So remember, I want to figure out what B squared is so I can figure out what B is, which means I need to move this to the other side. So I need to do the opposite. Remember, I do the same thing on both sides. 400 minus 400 is going to be 0. 625 minus 400, let's put it in here just for us who need to double check. It's 225. So what we have now, we have B squared equals 225. We still need to find out what B is though. So I'm going to do my control x squared. That gives me my square root sign. I want the square root of 225. Press enter, and it's 15. B is equal to 15. Okay? All right. What I want you to do is I want you to try 2, 4, 6, and 9 and see what you get, okay? So don't forget, you don't have the little table in front of you, so you're going to make your table. What is my A, my B, and my C? What is the number? And then remember, I also need what is it squared, okay? You're going to do that every single time. All right, go ahead and give those a try.